I'm a 28-year-old mother of a 4-year-old. Right now, I'm in a relationship with a man who is not my daughter's father. 3 years ago, about 8 months after I left my daughter's father due to abuse, I started to feel strange. I felt increasingly paranoid, almost as if I were being watched for weeks. I relayed these feelings to my family and my boyfriend. One night my sister asked if she could borrow my car, because she was having issues with hers. I told her it was okay, as long as she had it back before 4 a.m., because that was the time I had to take my boyfriend to work. Hours pass, and I wake up to screaming and banging outside of my window. I jolted awake, heart racing because I had no idea what was going on. I rushed to the front door and continued to hear screaming and banging. When I steadied myself, I realized it was my sister who was outside. I let her in, saying, "What the hell is going on?" She says, "Hannah, Donnie is outside in the bushes by your window. He's outside right now." I replied, "What the fuck?" I look out the window from our porch and saw my daughter's father standing there, with no shirt, no shoes, and sweating as if he were out there all night. I immediately rushed to call the police and check on my daughter. I explained to the dispatcher that he had been abusive towards me in the past and had not been into drugs other than marijuana before I left him, but tonight he seemed as if he could be high on something else. The police were there in 5 minutes, guns drawn and yelling for him to get down. He refused, claiming that I had told him to come over to see our daughter. Mind you, I had not spoken to him the entire 8 months after I left him. My daughter didn't even know him at this point. And it was 4:30 in the fucking morning. I told the police that I had not spoken to him and that he was lying. They basically did nothing but slapped him with a trespassing citation and told him to leave. The police stayed to make sure he left, but he did not. He acted as if he had left, but then he came back to my house to talk. I threatened to call the police again if he didn't leave, and this time he did. Fast forward to the next day. My neighbor is our gardener, and as usual, he was cutting our grass. He passes by the bush, the one Donnie had hid in, and saw a medium-sized steak knife hidden there. My body literally went cold. It's as if the last few weeks of me feeling as though someone were watching and following me started to flash through my mind. He was there at a particular time, 4:30 a.m., because he knew I would be leaving the house to take my boyfriend to work. I have an idea what he was planning to do to me, and it sent me pretty much into hysteria. That man tried to kill me. Who knows what he would have been planning to do to my daughter, my family. I wish I could say some type of happy ending to this story, but there is none. I wish I could say, let's not meet again, but that would just be reaching. My mom is single and has 5 kids. I'm the oldest. My 2 little brothers were gone at the time, and I wish my little sisters, ages 5 and 4, were gone too, because they were much more terrified, as they had had more encounters with him than me. Anyways, one morning I awoke to my little sisters sleeping with me. I found this odd, because they had their own room, and they never came to sleep with me before, so I thought maybe my mom put them in there. I didn't want to wake them, so I just left them there and went down to the kitchen to find my mom cooking breakfast. I asked her, "How come you put the girls in my bed last night?" She looked at me confused and responded, "I didn't put the girls in your room last night." That means they came in by themselves. I really didn't mind them coming to sleep with me, but I still wondered why. Eventually, I brushed it off. This went on for a few days. Then one day, I asked my sister why they would come sleep in my room so much, and she said, "We're scared of the window man." And all I could think was, "Window man? What the hell is that?" So I asked her what it was, and she said, "He looks at us at night, and sometimes he speaks." I asked her what he would say, and she said that sometimes he'd ask, "Where's your mommy?" Or, "Are you alone?" And she said sometimes he would just sit there and smile. I told my mom what they said, and she notified the police. They couldn't really do anything due to the fact that they were kids, and they were too young to give a description of what they saw. One day they begged me to take them to the park because they were bored, and I agreed. We ended up being the only ones there, so I decided to play with them. Now the way the park was, there was an entrance on one side that was accessed by the street with houses, and on the other side, there was woods. Eventually I tired myself out and sat down on the swings as they continued playing. I sat there texting and listening to the sound of their laughter. Then all of a sudden, complete silence. I glanced up and saw my little sisters staring. Their backs were facing me, and they were looking towards the woods. I got up to see what the problem was, and there he was, just standing there, with half of his body behind a tree. He was about 6'2", and he had a lot of facial hair. He had on dirty boots, and his pants were dirty and ripped, and so was his shirt. By the way he looked, I knew he was bad news. And by the way he looked at my sisters, I really knew he was bad news. They were so terrified, it made me wonder if he had hurt them or something. My body was frozen, but my mind was telling me to get the hell out of there. I grabbed my sisters and began exiting the park. I guess he knew I was about to run, because before I could even reach the gate, he came sprinting full speed towards us. This was the time for me to run like hell, but I couldn't run as fast as I wanted to, because I had 2 children in my arms. So every time I looked back, he had gained even more on us. I was scared out of my mind, and began screaming for help. I was screaming as loud as I could, and then everything went black. When I awoke, I was inside an ambulance, being driven to the hospital. The only person in there with me was a paramedic. I didn't see my sisters. I panicked and started screaming, "Where are they?" And he told me to calm down, and that they were completely safe. When we arrived, I got treated for a concussion. A man walked into the room with my sisters, and I gave them the biggest hugs. He told me that my mom was on the way, and he also told me that the police got the guy who attacked us. He was an escaped mental patient who had been on the loose for more than 3 years and had been charged with multiple crimes, including kidnapping and rape. He said that he heard my screams and called the cops, and when they arrived, I was on the ground unconscious. The man had hit me in the back of the head with a large rock, and my sisters were gone. He said that he saw the man leading my sisters towards the woods, but he didn't get far. They caught him inside the woods, near a cabin that had been abandoned for a long time. They believe he was going to take them in there, but luckily, the police made it just in time. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, and subscribe so you can catch all of my future content. I'll see you guys tomorrow for another video. And just remember, it's always scarier if it's true.
And just remember, it's always scarier if it's true!